You think smoking is cigarettes and vapes, right? Wrong! I'm about to show you how smoking started as a way to literally call the gods, like a direct hotline to heaven. This is insane. Before anyone was addicted, tobacco was used for sacred rituals to connect to the spirit world. And we have proof our ancestors were using it 12,000 years ago. So, how did they even find this crazy plant in the first place? Our story kicks off in, of all places, the middle of the Utah desert. Here, at an ancient Ice Age campsite, some very patient archaeologists were digging around in a fireplace that's literally 12,300 years old. And inside, they found something that changed the game. Four tiny, almost invisible, burned seeds from a wild tobacco plant. After some fancy carbon dating, they confirmed the fireplace was ancient, alright. This one little discovery completely rewrote the history books, pushing back our timeline of tobacco use by 9,000 years. That's not just moving the goalposts, that's like finding out the sport you thought was soccer is actually played in zero gravity with three balls. Before this, the oldest proof we had was some 3,000-year-old pipes in Alabama. Sorry, Alabama, you've been officially one-upped by the Ice Age. Now, these weren't hipsters in a cafe. These were hardcore hunters, living in a marsh surrounded by ducks. They left behind the usual stuff, spear tips, animal bones, but the tobacco seeds showed they had other hobbies. They weren't eating the seeds, and they're totally useless for a campfire, meaning they put them in the fire on purpose. It's like finding a fish in a bird's nest. It didn't get there by accident. So, what were they up to? Were they chewing it, smoking it? The seeds aren't talking, but they just dropped the first clue in one of history's biggest mysteries. For hundreds of thousands of years, ever since our ancestors mastered fire, we've lived with smoke. It cooked our food, kept us warm, and scared off predators. But for almost all of that time, breathing it was just something you couldn't avoid. Going from accidentally inhaling smoke to intentionally doing it was a huge leap. It's the difference between tripping and falling into a pool and deciding to do a cannonball. So how'd they figure it out? Just picture an ancient hunter walking through a field after a wildfire and smelling burnt tobacco for the first time. That curiosity probably led to the first experiments. They learned that burning specific plants and breathing in the smoke could literally change their reality. In fact, some scientists believe the desire to alter our consciousness isn't just a random impulse, but a deep biological drive. It's like our brains came with a pre-installed search engine, one that's constantly trying to look past the first page of everyday reality. And for our ancestors, smoke was the key to unlocking it. This is where it gets crazy. For ancient people, the visions from these plants weren't for fun. They were 100% spiritual. Smoke was seen as a messenger, literally a spiritual delivery service, carrying prayers from our world up to the gods. In return, visions and wisdom came back down. Shamans and priests became absolute masters of this. They used tobacco to go into trances, talk with spirits, and find enlightenment. And we have proof. In classic Mayan art, you can literally see rulers and priests smoking. They believed if they offered up sacred smoke, which looked like man-made clouds, they could get the rain god Chak to send actual rain. It was like sending a smoke signal to the heavens, creating their own tiny clouds to show the god of rain exactly what they wanted. But it wasn't just for visions. Tobacco was also like the original Swiss Army knife for medicine. In small doses, nicotine is a stimulant that boosts focus and even dulls pain. Indigenous people used it for everything you can imagine, from getting rid of a toothache to getting hyped for battle. The feelings it produced were seen as proof that the plant had divine power to heal, protect, and purify. At first, people probably just chucked tobacco leaves onto a fire. But over thousands of years, they developed new tech. The invention of the pipe was the biggest upgrade ever. It was like going from a single town well that everyone had to gather around to giving everyone their own personal, portable canteen. It made smoking controllable, and it made it individual. The pipe made smoking personal, but it also made it social. And the peace pipe was not a myth. Smoking together was a sacred ceremony used to seal treaties and lock in agreements. Passing a pipe was like a spiritual handshake, creating a bond through a shared holy breath and weaving smoking into the very fabric of society. And get this wasn't just happening in the Americas with tobacco, it was happening all over the world at the same time. It's insane. In the Pamir Mountains of Asia, archaeologists at a 2,500-year-old cemetery found wooden bowls used for burning plants. After running chemical tests, they found the residue of superpotent cannabis, chosen specifically for its high THC content. It's like if societies on opposite ends of the globe, who had never met, both independently invented the guitar. It suggests the human impulse to connect with the spiritual is a fundamental drive, not an accident. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus even wrote about the Scythians literally howling with joy while they inhaled cannabis vapor inside tents, basically the world's first hotbox. These discoveries prove that ritual smoking was a global human idea, all part of the same incredible quest. For thousands of years, this was the story of smoking. It was sacred, medicinal, and communal. But in 1492, the entire story got flipped upside down. When European explorers landed in the Americas, they saw tobacco for the first time. They watched these rituals they didn't understand, but they immediately saw its potential as a product. The plant that was once a tool for speaking with spirits was stripped of all its meaning. It's like finding a sacred ancient scroll and selling it as fancy wrapping paper, completely ignoring the words on it. It was shipped back to Europe, first sold as a miracle cure, and then as a product for the masses. The sacred pipe of the shaman was replaced by the cigarette. A ritual of connection was replaced by a habit of addiction. A plant that once bridged the gap between humans and the heavens became a global health crisis. If you think this history is insane, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next video. What do you think is the craziest part of this story? Let me know in the comments. The story of how smoking began is way crazier than you thought. It didn't start with a craving. It started with a question, a need to understand the entire universe. Our ancestors looked to smoke for answers, seeing it as a bridge to another world. And it was that incredible human drive for meaning that led them 12,300 years ago to a fire in the Utah desert and to the first ever use of this sacred and now controversial plant.